Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, a channel where we talk about life and money. And in regards to money and being wealthy and being a person that is rich, both financially and culturally, I want to talk to you today about the importance of not getting your news only from the internet. The internet is great to get news, whether they are financial news or other types of news, and I watch the internet myself a lot. I watch YouTube, I watch Facebook Reels, I read newspapers online, and that's fantastic. But the reason why I also want you to get your news elsewhere, for example from printing magazines, is because the internet is driven nowadays by algorithms. And that means that YouTube and Facebook Reels is gonna serve to you only the types of videos that YouTube thinks you like. And so if you watch a lot of financial news on conservative channels, for example, the YouTube algorithm and Facebook and other websites will only serve to you the type of news that you like to watch to keep you on the platform. And that means that you're not going to get diversity. You're not going to get exposed to different subjects. You're not going to get exposed to different point of views, and you're not going to get exposed to different topics. That means that when you pull up your YouTube, you may find similar channels, similar types of news, similar to your financial point of view, similar to your ethnic or age group, similar to your political leaning. And that means that you're getting poorer, that you're not getting exposed to the diversity of information and of news and of point of view that is going to enrich you culturally but also financially. Because to invest, to know how to invest your money, to know where to put your money, to know what the risks are in the market, what the risks are in the world, and what the best trends of economy, of financial enrichment are, you need to be exposed not just to your points of view, but to different point of views. That's why it's important that you don't only get your news from the internet. And there are 3 magazines that I suggest you should subscribe to or at least read. Go out and buy these 3 magazines. Go to the newsstand, go to the supermarket or wherever they sell them, or get a membership online and get these 3 magazines. And there are tons of magazines that you can read. So these 3 that I'm mentioning are not the only ones, but these are 3 that have made a difference for me in my life, and I'm gonna give you some examples, okay? The first type of magazine that I think you should read is a magazine that is very practical and has very good financial suggestions, and that is Kiplinger. And I love this magazine because it exposes me to economic news about different areas that I may not be reading about. And there are a lot of important articles about types of exchange traded funds, mutual funds, stocks, and any type of financial news that deals with how to spend your money, how to invest your money, how to save money. And I'll give you an example. Kiplinger is how I learned about NVIDIA back 7-8 years ago. And I invested into NVIDIA back in 2017 because I read about NVIDIA on Kiplinger. And Kiplinger is still a type of publication that I read every month, and sometimes I go online and I look, for example, about the best mutual funds or the best ETFs, or what are the best ETFs with low cost. And you can read the magazine, like the printed magazine, like I have here. This is the magazine from March of 2025, and I'm gonna read it. And I'm gonna read in there something that I wouldn't have otherwise been reading if I had just been reading on YouTube. And you can also go on the Kiplinger online and look for best ETFs. What are the best ETFs to invest in emerging markets or in international stocks or in national stocks? or research the ETFs or the mutual funds that are target date, or research the mutual funds that are those that have the lowest costs. And if you read every month for a year or two a magazine like Kiplinger, from beginning to the end, you're going to be reading about areas, about industries that you would not otherwise be reading. And you, believe me, you're going to learn something that is very important. Then another magazine that I suggest you read regularly is a magazine like Fortune, and I'll show you why. This magazine that I'm holding here is from 2020, more specifically February 2020. I don't know if you can see the date here, and look at what it was talking. The entire issue was about artificial intelligence, and it was in depth, and it had a lot of very good suggestions about artificial intelligence. 5 years ago, Fortune was writing about artificial intelligence, something that many people have been hearing about in the last year or so, with NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta getting more into AI and all these things, and it's great. But 5 years ago, a magazine like Fortune was already writing about those topics. It was writing about artificial intelligence in medicine and in many other areas. And if you read a magazine like Fortune together with a magazine like Kiplinger every month, you're going to get exposure to a lot of depth of analysis. Kiplinger is much more consumer oriented, much more like small investor oriented, and has more like practical suggestions. Kiplinger, I feel like it's got like a more consumer oriented type of content. It has a lot about saving and investing, and it has articles usually that are not like super in depth. There are somewhat in depth, but not as much as Fortune. Fortune, I feel like, complements a magazine like Kiplinger because it gives you like analysis of companies and of industries that maybe you're not going to find on Kiplinger. But the two really complement each other. I feel that the two really complement each other because you can read them together and learn a lot from different standpoints. Fortune sometimes is more from like the 30,000 foot point of view, while Kiplinger is more like down to earth and more granular, and it looks more like at financial products, Kiplinger. But if you read the two, I think you're gonna enrich yourself a lot. And this means financially, you can get like some financial advice about how to invest your money, but also you're gonna enrich yourself if you're like talking to people, if you're like just your general knowledge. You're gonna become like a much more well-rounded person if you read print magazines in addition to listening to YouTube or Facebook or that kind of stuff. Because you should have both. Keep yourself up to speed with the internet, but you should read printed magazines because you will read about what you would otherwise not want to read. You're going to have in your face something that you would have never gone and looked for on YouTube today. And then a third magazine that also is going to enrich you, I think financially and definitely culturally, is The Economist. And it is somewhat expensive to buy a membership, a subscription to The Economist. It can be hundreds of dollars a year, although you can buy, I think, maybe like some issues. You could go ahead and buy it like 3 or 4 times a year. And even that would make a big difference. And the reason why I suggest you read The Economist is because The Economist talks about the broad view and in-depth subjects about world economic subjects, world political subjects, world movements. What are the big trends in the economy? What are the big trends in politics? And it talks about different nations. It talks about the US, it talks about Europe, it talks about emerging markets, and it talks about how all of the markets are integrated, how all of the politics are integrated. What are the big people, the big movers in the world? What is coming in world politics? And it's important if you're an investor and to make money. If you want to get rich, do you want to get rich in the stock market? Do you want to get rich investing? You can't just watch YouTube. You have to know about what is going on in the world. You have to be a well-rounded investor. You have to be curious about what you want to learn, and you have to know what is happening in the world. Not just at the moment, not just the news of the day, but what are the big undercurrents? What are the big cultural currents? What are the big demographic currents? If you do those three things, read these three magazines or similar magazines. So maybe you read Time, or maybe you read Newsweek. Instead of reading Kiplinger, you read Money. Instead of reading Fortune, you read a different magazine. It doesn't matter. But pick three and be challenged. Learn about something you wouldn't otherwise have learned, and be open. You need to be like a sponge. You need to be curious, be like a sponge, be open to getting the information that these magazines want to give you, even if it's not the information that you would have otherwise wanted to read today. So it's going to make you a little uncomfortable, and you may feel like, oh, I don't feel like reading about economy in India or economy in Pakistan, or what are the challenges in healthcare in the US in the next 20 years. That may not be what you want to read this very day, but together with the news of the day that you read on the internet, on TikTok, on Facebook, go deep. If you go deep, you're going to have more reward, because when you go deep, you're going to understand better what are the long-term implications of what is happening around you. And investing is, for the most part, for the long term. It means investing for what is going to happen in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, or in 20 years. So keep that in mind, be challenged, and read some magazines. And that's my suggestion to you. I'm 51 years old, and I've read magazines for the last 20 years, in addition to getting my news on Facebook and YouTube and all that. And it's been very good for me, financially, but also from a human standpoint. I feel like I've been enriched, and when you enrich yourself culturally, you're going to enrich yourself financially if you have the courage to invest your money. Okay? I hope this helped you. I hope these suggestions are something that you can look back in 5 years and say, oh, I watched that video that gave me these suggestions, and that was good. I really hope so, because these were good for me, and I hope that these were good for you too. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon in another video. Thank you.